Welcome back to the World Cup Brief. Episode 4. The group stage caught fire this week. A 92-year wait ended for Egypt, a super sub rescued Germany, and the next generation announced itself. Here are the 5 stories that mattered.
Clutch the moment. ClutchBrief.
First up, Mohamed Salah finally gets his World Cup moment. Egypt came from behind to beat New Zealand 3-1 in Vancouver, and in doing so claimed the first World Cup win in their history at the 9th attempt, 92 years after their tournament debut. The man who dragged them there was Mohamed Salah. It started badly. Finn Surman rose to head the All-Whites in front after a quarter of an hour, but Egypt's quality told after the break. Zizou levelled. Salah swept them ahead just past the hour, and then his corner was headed home by Trezeguet to make it 3-1 and seal the history. Put the wait in context. Egypt were the first African side ever to play at a World Cup, back in 1934, and this somehow was their first win at the 9th time of asking. It lifts Egypt to 4 points and top of Group G. They're not through yet, but a point against Iran in their final game would, in all likelihood, do it. Salah, who'd been quiet in the opening draw with Belgium, savoured it. A great achievement for all the players, he said. A great win, a great vibe. For Salah, it was personal. A forgettable World Cup in 2018, no Qatar 4 years later. And now, at last, Egypt's greatest ever player has had his moment on the biggest stage. Next, Germany needed a hero off the bench, and found one. Germany was second best for much of their Group E meeting with Ivory Coast in Toronto, until Julian Nagelsmann turned to his bench. On came Deniz Undav, and the Stuttgart striker scored twice, the winner in the 94th minute to flip it 2-1. Frank Kessié had put Ivory Coast in front on the half hour. Frustrated, Nagelsmann made a triple change on the hour, and it transformed the game. Undav turned in Nadim Amiri's delivery to level, then collected Felix Meka's pass deep in stoppage time and thrashed home the winner. Both goals came after he'd come off the bench, the decider arriving in the 94th minute to send Germany through to the knockout stage for the first time since 2014. And it's becoming a habit. 3 goals and 2 assists in 2 appearances as a substitute, reportedly the joint most goal involvements by a sub at a World Cup since 1966. Undav made it sound simple. They knew they were going to score, he said. He knew he'd get the ball, and then he just had to take advantage. Nagelsmann, who'd left Undav on the bench again, was proud of his substitutes, though tellingly he still wouldn't commit to starting his in-form striker. It was a grind, not a statement. Joshua Kimmich was exposed down the right, the German defence again looked shaky, and there was a sour note. Ivory Coast's Wilfried Singo going off hurt. Germany are through, but with plenty to fix. Then the Dutch finally clicked. And how? After a flat opening draw with Japan, Ronald Koeman's Netherlands were under fire. Their answer in Houston was emphatic, a 5-1 demolition of Sweden that announced them as serious World Cup contenders. Brian Brobby handed a start ahead of Crescencio Somerville, scored twice in the first half. Cody Gakpo took over after the break, heading in a Denzel Dumfries cross before cutting inside for a fourth. Anthony Elanga grabbed a Sweden consolation, and Somerville, the man dropped, came off the bench to seal it. 5-1, and the Dutch sit top of Group F against a Sweden side that had themselves won 5-1 on matchday 1. They're calling it World Cup Cody, 23 goals in 52 caps for his country, a strike rate that dwarfs his recent form at Liverpool, where the end product has too often deserted him. It was a gamble that paid off. Koeman, criticised for his caution against Japan, dropped Somerville for Brobby and was rewarded with a performance that silenced the doubts around his captain Virgil van Dijk and his team. Now the World Cup finally meets Erling Haaland. At 25, one of the best strikers on the planet had never graced a World Cup, Norway's first appearance since 1998. Erling Haaland made up for lost time, scoring twice on his debut as Norway beat Iraq 4-1 in Boston. He opened the scoring inside half an hour in typically ruthless fashion. Iraq hit back through Ayman Hussein's header, but Haaland simply restored the lead, and Norway pulled clear to win 4-1. It's almost absurd now. A hat-trick on his Champions League debut, a hat-trick on his Bundesliga debut, a double on his Premier League debut, and now 2 more on his World Cup bow. No stage has ever been too big. He arrived red-hot. 16 goals and 3 assists in just 8 qualifiers carried Norway here, and a nation's hopes now ride on his shoulders. His manager Ståle Solbakken wasn't surprised. You could see he lived up to the occasion. He said it wasn't too big for him. And the man who tried to stop him, Iraq coach Graham Arnold, tipped Norway to surprise people. He's just an amazing number 9, he said. This team could go a very long way. And finally, an 18-year-old writes his name in the record books. After a goalless stumble against Cape Verde, Spain roared back, 4-0 against Saudi Arabia in Atlanta, and the story was Lamine Yamal, handed his first World Cup start and opening the scoring at just 18. Yamal set the tone early, opening the scoring before Mikel Oyarzabal made it 2. The teenager was taken off at half-time as a precaution. He's still managing a hamstring issue, but Spain didn't relent. Oyarzabal's second and an own goal completed a 4-0 rout. At 18, he's now among the youngest goal scorers the tournament has ever seen, the kind of record book company usually reserved for the game's teenage prodigies. It puts the European champions back on track. 4 points on the board, the Cape Verde scare behind them, and their most dangerous player fit and firing. And for all the comparisons to him, Yamal keeps his idols straight. Asked about Lionel Messi, the teenager didn't hesitate. Messi is the best in history, and if anyone doubts it, they're only looking for reasons. That's your World Cup Brief, Episode 4, History for Egypt, a super sub for Germany, and the kids taking over. We're back every few days through the tournament, so hit subscribe and you'll never miss what happened.